everyone, this is Jackie Williams, and in this video I want to showcase the Honeybee Home stamp set and die set. I also want to share with you an easy emboss resist technique using our inks. I'm also wanting to use the Hive 3D embossing folder. It just works really well with the bee image. So let's start by showing you how to create the background. So I have cut a piece of Sahara sand, and this is 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/8 inches. And I have embossed that with the Hive 3D folder. And I have also used the white ink and just brushed it lightly over the top. I did that first because it needs a little bit of time to dry. And then I'm going to take my Sahara sand ink pad, so the same color as the cardstock, and I'm going to use what's called a direct to paper technique. So I'm just going to open my ink pad and drag that nicely along that embossed side. Now, of course, you can use the other side of the paper if you prefer. I just happen to prefer this side here. And it's on a little bit unevenly, but I quite like that look. It adds to the more vintage look. Now that that's done, I'm going to adhere that to a mat of Very Vanilla, and this is 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Next, I have cut a circle out of Pool Party, and this is approximately 2.5 inches in diameter from the Layering Circles dies, and I've just punched a hole on either end. Now I'm going to take a blending brush and my Sahara sand ink pad and just go over the edges a little bit, just to add a little bit of color depth to the Pool Party. Next, I'll go ahead and put that on my card front with dimensionals. Now, I'm going to choose to do a landscape orientation for this card. Now, I'm just going to set this aside and let's color our flower next. So I am using watercolor paper, and I have stamped this flower here in Versamark and then put white embossing powder on and heated that. So now I've got that flower white embossed on the white paper. Now, next, I'm going to use some water, and I have added some drops of ink refill. So it's just the same drops as you would use to refill your ink pads. And in this one, I have Evening Evergreen. So I find it easiest to go ahead and go through and color in the leaves first, because then you know where your flowers are. And what I want you to notice is that I am just coloring outside the lines. So particularly in an image like this, where the open areas or the areas where the color would go are very small, just go ahead and color outside the lines. Now that was a little bit of petal pink. That actually wasn't the color that I wanted, but that's okay. Now I'm just going to take this to the heat tool and dry it just a little bit before I put on the next color. So now I want to add on the Blushing Bride, which is the color that I was wanting. Now I'm just going to let this dry naturally and then use the die to cut it out. And you'll end up with something that looks like this. Now this is one that I prepared earlier. And for this one, I've used Petal Pink and Cajun Craze. So when I've cut it out, you'll see then that you don't have that white outline because I have colored outside of the lines. And I think that's kind of a nice look, particularly when you have the stamped outline is actually white in this case. So now I want to go ahead and actually put my ribbon on, and we don't have a Cajun Craze ribbon. So what I've done here is I've taken the seam binding white ribbon and I have colored it with the Cajun Craze Stampin' Blends to give myself a Cajun Craze ribbon, and I have intentionally colored it with 2 markers, so I've got that variegated sort of color there, so it's not a solid color. So now I've cut a ribbon that's about twice the length of this and twice the length of that space. And then I'm just going to put that through the hole. And then I'll put this one through the hole on this side. And then I'm just going to pull that over to the side and wrap it around the back and adhere it on the back, and then do the same on the other side. Now I want to just add a little bit of background to my flowers before I put my flower on. So I've cut these little grassy and flower images from the same die set. So now I want to add just a little bit of a background that's going to go behind my flowers. I've cut these die images from the Honeybee Home bundle and out of Pool Party, and now I'm just going to add just a little bit of the Sahara sand, just so it matches the color of the circle behind. And now I'll put my flower on, and I'll put that on with dimensionals. There we go. Now I'm going to use the remainder of my Cajun Craze ribbon, and I am going to just tie a nice bow, and what I've done is made 3 loops around my fingers, and then just fold those loops in half, and I'll use the remainder to tie a knot through the middle. And then I'll use those tails to tie that onto the ribbon that I've already got on the card. And just a single knot is enough. And you can always use a glue dot if you need to get your ribbon to behave a little bit better than it wants to. There, I'm happy with that. Move that a little closer. Now we'll go ahead and put this onto a thick, very vanilla card front, and we'll go ahead and put that on with dimensionals. And now we'll just put on some words. So I've stamped out or white heat embossed the "You're the Nicest," and I've put that up on dimensionals, and I've just used my scissors to cut this out. So I would put it something like this, and then maybe one down here like this. Now we just need some gems, so I'm going to use pearls, and we don't have any gems in this Cajun Craze sort of color. We do have our champagne rhinestones, but I thought they were a little bit too sparkly for this vintage look. So I'm just going to color in some pearls with the Cajun Craze. And let's go ahead and put a few of those onto our project. I just love how with the Stampin' Blends you can use white ribbon and white pearls or clear rhinestones and get elements that will match your project all perfectly. Then on the inside of my card, I'll just stamp the Honeybee Home images, this time in Sahara sand, and place that on a Sahara sand mat. And there you go. So that's a very easy way to watercolor in your heat embossed images. So let me show you a few other variations of this project. So this one I did in more of a horizontal, and I did this one in the Blushing Bride, and then used, actually this ribbon is petal pink, but I find that it actually matches the Blushing Bride quite well. So either of these look really great. And then I stepped it up here for this version, and on this version I actually watercolored the background as well as watercolored in the flowers for a different look. And believe it or not, this is Tahitian Tide. And then this project is a partial die cutting project, and this is using the Blessings of Home stamp set, which is part of the Heart and Home bundle as well. It's a double bundle with 2 stamp sets and die sets. And this one is actually part of the All Stars tutorial bundle this month. So with that tutorial bundle, you'll get this one and 11 others, complete with videos and photos and measurements. And then this is one using the beautiful papers and the Blessings of Home dies. Same with this one, using the Blessings of Home flower. And then this one's just a really simple note card, really good one for just using up your little bits and pieces. And this project was actually given to me by my friend and downline, Sylvia Patterson, for Thanksgiving, as you can see. So this is using one of the smaller flowers in the bundles and just using a little bit of blending brush there in the background. And then this project is using that large flower spray from Blessings of Home and using the spotlight technique that I taught on another video. So look up there in the corner and I'll put up a link for that video if you'd like to see 3 different ways to do the spotlight technique. I've also added a little bit of the gold gilded leafing in this one. So there's quite a few ideas for you using the Heart and Home suite, and I hope that you give the Emboss Resist a try and join me on my next video. This is Jackie Williams. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.